What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and today I'm back to talk about Orctober. That's right, guys, the orky goodness is continuing, and here we have a battle as old as time. Whenever you think Warhammer 40k, I always go to the iconic Space Marines versus the Orcs. It is a battle as old as time, and it's been featured in a ton of novels, lore, and on the tabletop, campaign books have it galore. So here we have an excerpt from the Big Daka, where we have an orc fighting against a space marine, but it's not a battle that you would expect to see of epic proportions. It's one that has a bit of humor to it. And that's pretty much what the orcs are. They're funny guys, but brutally destructive as well. They fight, and that's all they care about, and they happen to have some humor to them as well. So let's go ahead and dive into this orky goodness as we see just what happens when an orc has his way with a space marine. Ulfthak hadn't faced a Beakie since he'd become a knob, let alone since the growth spurt he'd experienced after becoming a big boss. He remembered them as orc-sized or larger, swift and deadly, and encased in armor that was nigh impossible to crack. You honestly needed a rocket launcher or a power claw to really get at him, or hold one down and have a bunch of the lads to go over it with their choppas until finally someone found a gap or a weakness. That was then, and now, orc-sized is a poor description, given the size of orcs was far more variable than that of Umis. Ulfthak waited until the Beakie came into range, then he lashed out with a thunderous punch. Umis had short arms anyway, compared to orcs, although their legs were somewhat longer. Ulfthak's fist thudded into the Beakie's chest before its chain choppa could even reach its torso, and although his knuckles smarted a bit immediately afterwards, Beakies were nowhere near as solid as he remembered. The overgrown Umi staggered back and sat down in the dirt in the arena floor with a startled expression on its face, pieces of splintered decoration dropping off of its breastplate. The orc thought about it for a little bit. He could have killed it easily enough, taking the choppa off and pulling its limbs off one by one, maybe even beating it to death with its own leg. But while the Beakie hadn't seemed interested in helping him spoil the captor's party, what if he didn't give it a choice in the matter? Ulfthak caught the Beakie's choppa arm in his hand, and he began to spin. He whirled around and around 3 times on the spot, dragging the Beakie around with him, and then let out a massive grunt of effort and heaved the space marine high into the air. His aim was true, to be honest. Ulfthak had been considering the whole thing a win-win scenario. If he hadn't made a throw, then the Beakie wouldn't have flown headfirst into the wall that formed the arena's edge, which would have just been funny. But it sailed upwards, thrashing it as it went, and easily cleared the wall. Then it came down amidst the crowd of startled spikies. One thing you could say about Beakies was that they were always ready for a fight. Now denied the opportunity of carving chunks out of Ulfthak, the Beakie clearly decided that it was going to make the best of a bad job, and began laying about with its weapon. Spikies scrambled to get away from the raging armored killer, newly arrived within their midst. The Beakie, Ulfthak noted, didn't seem particularly pleased to be there. That was a bit odd, since Beakies were the most orc-like of all Umis. They didn't tend to run away from a good scrap, and they kept fighting even after they'd taken a proper kicking. So you'd have thought that this sort of place would be great for one of them. However, Beakies also hated anything that wasn't a Umi, and rather than enjoying a fight because it meant they could kill some non-Umis, they sometimes appeared to resent the fact that there were even non-Umis for them to fight in the first place. There was an underlying current of bitterness that seemed to suck out a lot of the joy that should have been there. So again, guys, this is a short but sweet episode as we see just how crazy these orcs are in their mentality. They can't understand any other races because they only think like orcs think, and that is, where is the next fight coming? When can I fight? Who can I fight that'll give me a good fight? And I need to fight so I can get bigger and stronger. The bigger and stronger you are, the more you get to be into better fights, and that's all the orc is thinking. So seeing this captured space marine in the Camera pits, you see him without an urge to battle. That's why the orc basically is able to catch his fist, spin him around, and throwing him outside the arena, and that's when he finally begins to fight against the Spikies, aka the Drukhari, the Dark Eldar. So the orcs really are a very interesting faction in the universe, and that's why they're so much of a threat. They only care about finding the best fight, and if that best fight has to do with orcs, chaos, demons, they will go ahead and fight anything in their path to get to that good fight. So again guys, this is just a short little excerpt of the orcs just being kind of silly guys, but still brutally cunning and cunningly brutal all at the same time. If there are any other excerpts you want me to cover, please let us know so we can get to that in the month of Orctober. And again, if you guys want more orc lore, check out the previous videos because we've been posting pretty much every day, be it shorts or actual lore, all about the orcs. A lot of times we have crossovers between, for example, orcs and space marines, orcs and Drukhari, or of course the Emperor taking on none other than the Black Orcs at Ulanor. That is one of the most crazy battles, so I'll go ahead and link that at the end so you guys can check that out. Honestly, it's probably the closest the Emperor has ever been to death besides his fight with Horus. So again guys, that's all I have for today. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Let us know that you guys are liking these videos by hitting the hype button. It's a new feature that YouTube's doing, so why not give it a hype. And yeah, that's all I got for today. So thanks again for watching, commenting, liking, sharing, and subscribing. And as always, it's the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.